Welcome back to more Sonic Lost World. Last time we got through the rest of the tropical coast, so this time we're starting with Frozen Factory Zone 2.
Why are you still here?
I'm just getting ready.
Well, you seem to be taking your time.
Well, it is my time to take now, isn't it?
But what if I told you that you were the only one I trusted to be fast enough,
Oh.
smart enough, and pretty enough
Go on.
to beat the blue nuisance?
Well, I'd say you got the right girl for the job.
Well, that was so easy I almost feel guilty.
Before we unpack everything that's been happening in this story, I did want to quickly mention that off-screen, I actually rescued about 800 animals, so we should be set for the rest of this playthrough. There's actually a very easy method to rescuing a lot of animals, and I'll explain how at the end of this playthrough. I will say for now that it does involve modding in the PC version. I don't like this level. This might be my least favorite level in the entire game. Basically, the red rings in this stage are obnoxiously difficult to get. For example, in this case, we have to knock all of these billiard balls into these pockets, which is incredibly frustrating. Also, a lot of times, as soon as you get past this section, you'll hit this checkpoint, meaning if you want another shot at it, you can't simply fall off the stage and load to an earlier checkpoint, you have to start the stage over again from the beginning. That's not as bad with that case, but there is another billiard section at the end of the stage, and to tell the truth, I got really burnt out on the stage from trying to get the red rings. That's part of the reason why I refused to ever get the red rings again in this game, because the stage was absolutely miserable to get through with the red rings. I definitely feel like this rivals the City Escape Red Ring in Generations Modern, but in that case, at least the jump off of one of the ramps that's so precise, it's at the beginning of the stage though, so it's not nearly as bad as the final red rings in this stage that take forever to get to and are extremely easy to mess up. Now that I've ranted about the gameplay side of things, the last two cutscenes I find incredibly infuriating, mostly because with the cutscene of Sonic and Tails and Eggman, I feel like Sonic and Tails bickering with each other is one, extremely out of character, and two, also, again, contradicts the moment in Sonic Adventure 2 where they end up working with Eggman. And again, I just don't really like Sonic and Tails fighting in this part of the story. I find it really obnoxious, to be honest, and also very out of character. And then we have our fourth member of the Deadly Six, Xena, who also is another very stereotypical character, in this case, a lot of negative female stereotypes. And again, I don't find that funny. They're trying to make the Deadly Six funny, I just find these pretty offensive if I'm being honest. So in general, this is probably the low point in the entire game for me, both because I don't like this member of the Deadly Six because I find their character really poorly handled, and I also don't like Sonic and Tails' portrayals, and I also don't like the gameplay. So as a whole, this is just a pretty miserable sequence to get through. If you're not worried about red rings, it's not that bad though. It's only if you're trying to get the red rings that this is an absolute nightmare. For example, we have to jump across there, which is a whole ordeal in itself, but then we have another billiard section coming up, and I'm pretty sure right after the billiard section again, there's a checkpoint. So yeah, if you mess up the billiard section, which is very easy to do, the snowball controls awfully by the way, you have to do everything up to this point again every time you want a shot at this red ring. If I get it first try here, I'm actually going to be mad, but I'm going to go after it just to see if that happens. It might actually happen, but this section is actually very narrow here. I'm actually kind of happy I missed it, again, because I would have been very mad if I had actually gotten it first try in a playthrough where I wasn't trying to get the red rings. We also have all of these like Yeti creatures that are trying to knock us off the stage, and again, we don't really have a whole lot of maneuverability, so it's very easy to get flung off the stage. We can spin dash, but obviously we're not exactly in full control here, so I don't necessarily recommend spin dashing because it's very easy to careen off the edge. So yeah, this is just kind of miserable through and through, and definitely does feel like the lowest point in this entire game. Which I guess is kind of nice from the standpoint of after this, things will pick up a little bit, but again, we have a lot to slog through in the meantime. But I guess we're getting close to our first fight with Xena, so I guess we'll have to see how this goes. It might be in the next area though. I think we might have to ride another one of these little lifts up. Also, if you hit a checkpoint, you will automatically collect any rings that are stuck in the snowball, so you can actually hit it multiple times if you pick up more rings in the interim. But we'll have to see how this goes. This can also be very frustrating, so I'm not confident in this.
You're adorable.
It starts off simple enough. We basically have to break all the snowballs. The problem is also hitting Xena afterwards because we're still in a snowball for this. But now we have bombs to deal with, and that's when things start to get really annoying because we can't hit the ones with the bombs full speed, otherwise the cycle will reset essentially. Yeah, trying to actually turn is a nightmare in this. You can turn a little bit with a spin dash at least, so it's not too bad. And I think we have one more phase to go, I hope, to end this off, partially just because I'm ready to be done with this mission, if I'm being perfectly honest. So we'll break these final two, hopefully, or not. We'll crash straight into the bombs, and then we'll have to start over. So yeah, this is definitely not a high point in this adventure, I say as I immediately careen into another one, because I can barely see where I'm going half the time in the snowball. Alright, let's give this another try. You can kind of see the direction of the speed lines on the snowball to indicate where you're going at least, so that's something.
Gotta go. Call me.
Whew, that was cool. Pun entirely intended.
Your efforts are impressive, little hedgehog, but you are destined to fail, as the fat fool has failed before you.
I'll get fat from eating your black hearts, you Eggman wannabes!
Whoa!
Your threats are almost as amusing as your mustache. I must commend you on your invention, though. We get stronger and stronger as we leech the life from your dying world.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Where are you gonna live when your world's dead, guys? Oh, right. You've been dead, too. Too bad for you.
I will burn your world, you rebellious scum! I will destroy everything you love and make you rot! No! No! No!
Boss, your hands!
As long as I can still strangle a Zeti, my hands are fine.
Next up is Zone 3. As much as I trash talk a lot of the writing in this game and a lot of the storytelling in general, I have to admit that this is a fantastic portrayal of Eggman. This definitely feels like the scariest Eggman has been in a while in the franchise, and I do like that aspect. I just wish this version of Eggman was in a better game in general. We have another kind of bad mission, to be honest. This one might take a while, to be blunt, because we have pinball. We have to get a certain score and then land in that little sphere in the center. It'll open up as we get to the end. Obviously, we have to use the right and left triggers to operate the flippers. And I think we can actually, like, shake the machine. Alright, attempt number 2. I don't know why Sonic games keep including very cursed pinball. Actually, did it say our score? I think it did, actually, so it's not as bad, I suppose. Now we have the fun part of actually landing in the center of the machine, though, which is proving to be a challenge in its own right. That actually wasn't too bad. There's actually another pinball table that's actually harder, but it's optional and only for a red ring. So needless to say, I would rather preserve my sanity, and so we're not going to actually see that second pinball table. To be honest, again, I actually think a lot of the voice acting in this game is stellar. It's just they're not really given a whole lot to work with, unfortunately, so they're kind of let down by a weak script. In general, that's how I felt about this era of Sonic, is this has been a really solid cast, actually. Again, like, the voice for Amy, Cindy Robinson, definitely had interesting direction in this game, but starting with Forces and also Boom, actually, she definitely sounds a lot spunkier, which I do like. But this would also be Tails' actress, Kate Higgins. This would be her final time voicing the character until the Sonic Colors shorts for Sonic Colors Ultimate. In Boom onwards, she was voiced by Colleen O'Shaughnessy, if I'm not mistaken. And finally, we have Zone 4.
Move it or lose it, Snow Cone.
The last time we met, you ruined my nail art. Now I have to reapply a whole new coat.
Oh my gosh, are you serious? I am so sorry.
Oh, well, in that case...
Oh no, what I meant to say is, I'm so sorry that you have nothing more important to do in life.
Oh, you're gonna pay for that! As soon as my nails dry.
We have more ice physics, my favorite thing in this game. We also have these little orb enemies that sometimes they don't cooperate and drop the orbs, so it's very hard to actually attack them without getting hit yourself. In general, I definitely feel like if you had more air control, this would be a lot less annoying, but with losing air control very easily, it just gets annoying not being able to actually control your jump and essentially having to like Ninja Gaiden your way through all these stages if you're going at full speed. Obviously, you can go slower, but it's a Sonic game. You want to go fast. Like, the amount of times I've actually let go of the right trigger in this playthrough is actually very small, and it's because you want to go fast in these games. Even though it definitely feels like, in some cases, these games weren't designed for going fast, and definitely feel like more methodical platformers. I almost bit the dust there, so again, that's the case of not being able to really course correct the jump there. You also have these little things that are like moving the blocks towards us, so that was a case of I tried to run, and I forgot that you would do the little spin, and thus I lost all my speed, and again, you can't really gain speed like that. In general, I just feel like the Deadly Six are some of the worst villains, I think, in the entire Sonic franchise, to be honest. Again, because they're so one-note, and most of their one-note personality traits are just really not good and not well handled. I tried to slow down for the red ring, it definitely was not the right choice there. Let's try this again. Luckily, there are plenty of checkpoints in these stages, so even if you do fall off or lose all your rings and such, it's not usually that harsh. There are cases, of course, to the contrary, but in general, if there's one nice thing I can say about the gameplay, it's that it's surprisingly easygoing. And again, especially post-patch, where you do have lives from rings. Without that, you could lose lives pretty easily. Like, I could see you getting a game over pretty easily if you tried to actually get the red rings in the previous stage, and didn't have the ability to get lives from rings. Like, I definitely got game overs as is when I first played this game, because of just how trash the level is for the red rings, and also just because of not being able to really... Actually... Now that I think about it, I think I did actually play the game post-patch, and I still lost all my lives. So again, never again. I never ever want to get the red rings in that stage ever again. That's like the most upset I've ever been at a Sonic game in a very long time. I'm not even kidding. I had to actually like stop playing because I got so upset from trying that. I don't like this section because you're having to spin dash, but you're also having to maintain a certain amount of speed and avoid getting crushed. And that's a lot to keep track of, with controls being as loose and flaky as they tend to be in this game. We also have the little octopus enemies from Oil Ocean, you know, everyone's favorite part of Sonic 2. I definitely love being reminded of that in, again, what I consider to be the worst world of this game. But in general, this level isn't even that bad. It's kind of tedious, and also kind of like the ice physics definitely complicate things, so you kind of have to go slow a lot, which again feels very anti-Sonic in terms of level design. But again, Sonic games are kind of like that though. That's why Sonic games are considered to have a really high skill ceiling, because obviously on the first playthrough, you're not going to be able to take the optimal routes or get all the collectibles, but obviously that adds replay value of being able to get better at these stages and actually see more of them over time with the ones that have a lot of optional routes. Also, speaking of things people love about Sonic 2, we now have these little bolts that we have to spin, like in Sonic 2's Metropolis Zone. Again, everyone's favorite zone that they love to be reminded of in the series. Again, if you're going to do a callback, I question why you do a callback to this of all things. We also have these little robots dropping rings, which is very nice, but not overly helpful because they're so scattershot. But we should be getting pretty close to Xena at this point, I think. I'm trying to remember if this is a 2D fight or a 3D fight. I actually genuinely can't remember because of just how little I have actually retained of this particular game. That's an automated sequence, and it felt like I was going to die there. Also, you can't homing attack when you're doing the spin jump, so that's also a problem. I don't know what happened there. I had no speed going down that hill. So yeah, that sucked, actually. And the dash panel didn't work, so that's great. So now we have to, like, awkwardly try to figure out how to build up speed again. So yeah, by now it should be pretty obvious why I think this world is just kind of cursed. Like, it just ends up having a lot of the worst stages, and just a lot of really annoying set pieces that just really get old after a while. I think we do need to hit the dash panel. I think that was actually my mistake last time. So we are good to go, thankfully, and that's the one part I remember being tricky, so we should be okay. Yeah, I think this might be a 3D fight, so I guess we'll see how this goes. Do I remember what we're doing, what you have to do here at all? Not really, so I guess we'll find out. I guess we just have to dodge the spinning snowman heads and deal damage this way.
I'm getting tired of lugging your head around, pal, so I made you a Snowbot body.
I can't feel my legs!
Truly, your robots are a reflection of your genius, Dr. Eggman. But this does give me an idea.
I think I know a way to cause the Lost Hex to implode using null gravity effects. We could destroy the Zeti in one quick stroke.
And exterminate every living thing around them. Are you out of your mind?
Of course, there'd be some collateral damage, but...
Collateral damage? What kind of monster?
Tails!
I'm sorry. I suddenly felt very mean.
Not the best idea to put the dimwit's head on a battle bot.
In hindsight, I gotta agree with you, Doc. Thanks for the save. Can you get off me now?
I can't figure you out. 1 second you're contemplating genocide, And the next, you're saving one of your worst enemies.
I'm a complicated guy.
And you? What were you thinking, Tails? You could have gotten yourself killed.
I was just trying to help.
And with that, let's head over to World 5, the Silent Forest.
Sonic is more formidable than I anticipated.
Yes, he would make a powerful slave. Eggman taught us how to make robots.
So we'll make the Hedgehog a robot. Excellent plan, Master.
I'm sure you would have thought of it yourself, given time.
Time. Something Sonic is running out of.
Again, I've said it multiple times already, but I just really can't stand the character writing in this game. Again, I don't know why Sonic lashed out at Tails, to be honest. It's a mystery to me in terms of the writing and how the characters should interact with each other. Like, Sonic should be more concerned, not mad over it, so... Again, I just feel like this game's story writing is a mess, in a way that even as controversial, I guess you could say, as colors and even forces are, I almost feel like there's more consistency, at least within the game itself, rather than this, where I just feel like everything is just kind of inexplicable and all over the place in terms of how characters act both within the game itself and also with other entries. But I think we are actually past some of the worst of that, at least, for reasons that'll be obvious after this stage. It'll make sense. But again, the story does actually get better in my opinion after this point for not great reasons. I forgot that can actually kill you, so, I'm not entirely sure what to do here. I guess you're supposed to bounce on them, but if you double jump, you don't bounce, so it doesn't actually work, so that's good game design. Here we actually have another Wisp capsule. To be honest, I actually forgot the name of this one. I think it's like Eagle or something, which would make sense. Again, playing with the Wii U gamepad is not my favorite thing in the world, and trying to use gyro controls to actually control all these. So again, I definitely prefer using traditional controls for this. But again, I do feel like gameplay-wise, once you get past some of the weird physics problems and just other weird level design choices in the previous world, the rest of the game I don't remember being that bad in terms of like level design. It's mostly just a story problem, though admittedly, I should also mention while we're here that the 3DS version's snow levels are actually really terrible from what I've heard. Like, you have to push snowballs around for a really long time, and you might notice that these stages have absurd time limits. Apparently the 3DS version has even longer time limits for certain stages, so they end up being kind of a slog. Truth be told, I've never actually played all the 3DS version. There was a demo on the eShop, so I did play a little bit of First World, and I mean, I'm not really impressed with this version, so I'm also not really a fan of the 3DS version. I think I clipped straight through that crocodile. I'm not sure if I was supposed to take damage there, but I assume I was, so yeah, that makes sense. Also, I don't think I could jump, so I couldn't get that red ring.
Something's not right.
Huh. Must have missed this one.
Sonic! It's a trap!
Tails, no! Those rotten, sneaky...
Tails acted for the greater good. Let's make sure his sacrifice isn't for nothing.
I'm supposed to be the fastest, but I was too slow to save my buddy.
Again, a lot of problems in the story are started by Sonic, which I find very frustrating, but at least they don't have any ability to argue anymore within the story because Tails is out of the picture. But next time we'll continue exploring the Silent Forest to see what else we can find here. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more Sonic Lost World.